From the painstaking nuclear race run to the almost indestructible armoured truck battle, the Simpsons Hit and Run is no stranger to difficult missions. So today we're running down the top 10 hardest missions, starting with the easiest and ending with the hardest in the iconic game we all know, love and potentially loathe. Number 10, Alien Autopsy Part 3. Now look, I'm sure many people seeing this who've played the mission might be angry right now at me putting this so low on the list, but honestly I've never found it that hard. I know some people may have gotten to this level and then never finished the game because of it, but my experience is just a bit different. The mission tasks Homer with driving Grandpa Simpson's car to the power plant, grabbing some nuclear waste and driving back to sacrifice both the vehicle and his father to the aliens. Very similar to 3 other missions in this level, and while I think this is probably the hardest of all of them, I'm sort of treating this entry as all of them combined. But the idea is that making it to the power plant is tough because of a strict time limit, and then getting back to the school, again with the tough time limit, is hardened more so by the fact that you can't crash without the nuclear waste exploding, meaning you then have to either go back to get more, or far more likely you run out of time and have to restart the mission. It's not easy, sure, but maybe I'm just good at avoiding crashing, because generally I can breeze through this style of mission and always could when I was a kid. It's not that I'm just coming into this now for the first time as a skilled adult gamer. I was 6, and I did this on my 3rd try. Anyway, the reason I chose number 3 as the hardest of them is because to begin with you have to race an alien car to the school. While not a strict time limit, I would argue this car is harder to beat than a time limit due to the inconsistency of it. You know, it could randomly turn around and cause you to crash and suddenly then it has a head start. But that's not really the hardest bit, because after that, once you get the nuclear waste, you have 1 minute to get to the school, which sounds impossible because it pretty much is. Once you reach the Simpsons house though, another alien car greets you and chases you so the timer disappears, meaning you've actually had a minute to get to the Simpsons house, which isn't too bad. Make it away from the car and then you have to just get to the school, and that part's really easy. What makes this tricky is that at no point in the level can you slow down and take it easy. And with Grandpa's truck upgraded with the damn rocket, the handling is awful. So avoiding crashing in places like the cemetery shortcut, which is vital to use if you don't want to run out of time, is no easy feat. And as such, Alien Autopsy Part 3 controversially takes the number 10 spot as the easiest of the top 10 hardest levels in the game in my opinion. Curious Curator comes in at the number 9 spot. This is the final mission in level 5. Unlike certain other final missions in a level, it forces you to drive the main car of the next level, which I should love since the Farini Red is one of my favourites, but in this case it's actually a slight issue. The mission tasks Apu and Bart with heading to the museum, which is no problem at all. The car is so fun to drive and goes pretty quickly, but then you see the Curator in his little horrible vehicle speeding off. Now luckily the car we're using is faster than the Curator's car, but our job is not to race this dude, it is to kill him. I mean, destroy the car and get the key. Once you do that, you have to speed back to the museum, meaning the longer it takes you to beat the Curator, the further away you are from the museum, and then the harder it is to get there in time. Now, despite being small and slow, the Curator's car is unreasonably tough, and the big drawback of Bart's Farini Red is that it is not tough in the slightest. Following another mission where a fast but weak car must destroy a tough slow car, which is later in this list by the way, this just feels like overkill. Destroying the Curator's car isn't too hard, it's more just that it takes so long that getting back to the museum in time is really tough. Of course you can use the environment to your advantage, you know, drive the enemy into a wall or a tree, but even then it takes a few big hits to wear him down. Simple bumps from your car won't cut it. It's not impossible, and it's still on the easier side of the hard levels, but for sure, not as easy as you might expect from the initial brief. I do, however, love this mission, and I think it's the right kind of difficult. You know, I don't get frustrated with the game, I just have fun the whole time, and that's not true of all of these missions. Number 8, we have Return of the Nearly Dead. This is from level 4, and I'm umming and ahhing about whether to include this, so I'm keeping it quite low on the list. This mission is the shortest mission in the game. You have to get in your car at the graveyard, then drive to the old people's home, making sure you get there before the police. And that's it. It sounds easy enough on paper, but the issue is that the police are quite quick. This is a short race, so there isn't much room for mistakes or not taking shortcuts, and doing all of that perfectly without crashing is not easy at all. Especially because in level 4 the fastest car you have access to is probably the Canyonero, which has the handling of a horse with 9 legs on steroids. In other words, you basically don't know what it's going to do at any given moment and you have no control over it. This race, completely on its own, is quite hard. You have to be quick, precise, and take every shortcut you can. But the reason I was apprehensive about putting this one on the list, and have kept it quite low, is because the police car is a bit of an idiot. It will randomly just crash or turn around in the middle of the road. So if you get lucky, which honestly happens 1 in 3 times, you can pretty easily overtake the car and make it to the end no problem, as long as you don't crash as well. Maybe it's not the hardest ever, and some might find it easy if they consistently have the police car crash or if they play with the 70s sports car from level 7, but I always usually fail on this one 2 or 3 times before getting it. And since there's only a very small handful of levels that I don't usually do first time, I kind of have to put it on the list. For number 7, I'm going for a very similar one, and this is actually the earliest mission in the game on this list. It's from level 2, and this is Vox Nerdulli, or Nerdulli, however you say it. This mission tasks Bart with racing a nerd to the coffee shop with comic book guy in his car Kremlin. Interestingly, this mission is sort of repeated at the start of level 3 in the form of Nerd Race Queen, but that's a bit easier. You have to race the nerd again and actually come back, so theoretically it's longer and harder, but the race itself is easier. In Vox Nerdulli, or however you say it, in this mission, you have to race this nerd, and the whole thing takes maybe 30 or 40 seconds, so it's a very quick mission from start to finish from that perspective. But basically the nerd car is quicker than comic book guys, and unless you take every shortcut you can, you stand no chance of winning. And even then, if you bump into just one pole, not even a car, just a pole, you could lose the race. Much like the entry from level 4, success in this race pretty much relies on the enemy car crashing, or at least getting slowed down by other cars in the tunnel. It's doable, and again, not really that hard in the grand scheme of things, but it does take a couple of tries. And generally I would say that it's a little tiny bit harder than Return of the Nearly Dead. It's a good race though, and I do like it. I don't love comic book guy's Kremlin car, but it's not the worst. I wonder if we use Bart's on a roller, maybe it would be easier, but we can't, unfortunately, so moving on. Whoa, you're still here? That means I have to ask you to subscribe if you're enjoying these videos. I don't have a choice. And if you're not enjoying them, don't subscribe, I guess. Next up is Duff for me, Duff for you in the number 6 spot from level 6. This mission takes Bart from the observatory to the Duff brewery with a time limit. It's not too strict, but it's also not going to be easy if you use a slow car or crash much on the way. That part is okay though, it's fine, it's not a stupid time limit. From there you find a Duff truck and have just over 2 minutes to bash it 6 times to collect some lasers from it. Now the problem is that this truck drives through the port, meaning this area is rife with people to be run over and the police will almost definitely get called. On top of that, the truck is weirdly fast compared to other trucks or large vehicles in the game, so keeping up with it, getting ahead of it and bashing it hard enough to drop a laser and then managing to get the laser without missing it is a tough job. If you drive fast enough to hit it hard enough in order for it to drop a laser, you might then end up zooming past the laser once it's been dropped, having to turn around, wasting 10 to 15 seconds and screwing yourself over. That part is not easy at all, but once you do manage it, you then have to race back to the brewery and find a laser gun. Now, this part isn't inherently hard either, but it's made harder by the previous part. Like the curious Curator from level 5, the longer you take in this first section, the harder the second section is, and honestly, I always find myself getting that final laser from the truck so close to the end of the time limit that I then have to make it back to the brewery with very little time and I almost don't make it. Between the police inevitably coming, the truck driving faster than normal, and the speed needed to hit the truck to ensure a laser falls out, this mission hurts. I used to ask my older sister to beat this mission for me when I was a kid because I just couldn't do it. Now I can do it first try, but in the back of my mind I still dread it a little bit because of the hours I would struggle beforehand. This one is a bit less fun too, because getting stuck on corners, hitting the truck but only tapping the edge of it so no laser comes out, all of these things are frustrating and not in such a fun way. It's not bad though. Number 5. Now the next one should maybe go higher, but I have my reasons for it not being in the top 3. Quick Cash from level 5 forces Apu to use Snake's car, which is a nice car. I love it, and I often choose to use it for the other missions where you can choose your car. But here, this time it's a problem. Firstly, you gotta get to the Googleplex from the DMV with a time limit, but in Snake's car that's not really that big of a problem. Then when you get there, you've got to avoid the police for a little bit. Again, in a quick car, this is fine. Get back to the Googleplex and you are graced with an armoured truck to destroy. This thing is so tough you can hit it head on and not even see a difference in the red damage bar. Snake's car is utterly weak, and the armoured truck simply is not. So for this mission you spend most of the time either bashing the truck twice head on before needing to fix the car, which is fine and technically doable, except that it'll take forever because most of the map is highway with no wrenches, or you could try and force the truck to crash into walls, but again this is very hard to do without getting black smoke. And let's say you do that, you then have to drive very slowly behind the truck to ensure that you don't crash again and risk blowing up, because then it's mission over, and you have to do it all over again. I don't ever really fail at this one because I do just take it slow and steady, but it's so long and annoying and tedious with a huge risk of crashing and blowing up that it just has to be on the list. Just, not top 3, as there's no massive difficulty spike to get over. You just need to have patience and some driving skill. After you take out the truck there is another police chase segment, but again it's not too hard in Snake's car because of the speed. However, the area you find the police in can be tricky to navigate quickly without crashing, and if you do have black smoke coming from the car after the armoured truck fight, you could lose here, and that would suck after everything. It's not the hardest mission, but it's not a good one either. I don't really like this one, it's my least favourite on this list. Going to the loo swings in at number 4. The first mission of level 6 tasks Bart with running over some children. Basically you take the school bus with Otto to Krusty Lou Studios, picking up kids along the way. It's not awful, but the children you have to pick up are in weird places and can be very easy to miss along the way since you do have a time limit and you have to rush a fair little bit. The bus is slow, long and annoying to handle, so getting those trickier to get collectibles can be quite annoying. And then you have to drive through the Squidport tourist area, probably running over enough people to get the police on you, and then they might get in the way, and then driving up the hill to the studio slows you down because you've got such a slow car. It's not awful, but it is very easy to slip up, and if you miss a child, have to stop and get it and then regain your speed again, you've probably already lost. The time constraint isn't too harsh on the surface at first glance, but again, such a slow vehicle means that each second really counts in this mission. I like it, but I do fail maybe once or twice when I play it, and I adore this map as well. It's my favourite one. The driving through the port in these missions utterly sucks, because the police always get called on you, and it's always a time constraint mission, so the police getting in your way just ruins everything. It's not the hardest, that's coming, and you already know what that one is, but this one it's up there. We have Wolves Stole My Pills for the number 3 spot. Now this might be a bit of an unpopular pick for this one, but I do find it to be quite hard. In level 4 you start off at the retirement home where the tiny race I mentioned earlier actually ends, so this one follows on. And you have to zoom over to the school very quickly, which is easy enough because the school is quite close. But after talking to Nelson you have to follow a black sedan dropping Abe Simpson's medication. It's a very simple tail and collect mission, nothing we haven't seen before, but in this one case it's just harder than normal. The sedan is quick, and the car you're using is probably the Canyonero since that's the fastest you have access to in level 4, except you also have no control over the damn thing. The sedan will randomly do a U-turn and drop an item exactly at that moment, so you have to be quick copying them and then catching up with them again. It's all round very easy to fall too far behind and run out of time to collect the medicine, and then at the end you have to outrun the sedan again, but that's not too hard. The thing with this mission is simply that I will always miss an item, stop to go and get it, and then run out of time on the next one. It takes a couple of tries to get it, but I eventually do always end up managing the mission. I don't love this mission though. This style of chase and collect and don't have too much distance, it's a bit boring for me because they always go on a little bit too long, and then if you fail towards the end it's just, even longer. Now the number 2 spot is an interesting one. I can do this one first try with ease now, but that doesn't stop this from being a difficult mission. Never Trust a Snake, from level 5. Back in the day I used to be so stuck on this mission I would have to skip it because I would fail so many times that the skip option appeared. In this you have a time limit that never changes, so don't let the mission trick you into thinking that when you finish one part of it, the timer resets or you get a new timer, because that is not what happens. You have to follow a garbage truck, collect the 5 wadges of crap that it drops, and then make it to the centre part of the map and collect more rubbish, mostly on foot. You then have to zoom back to the DMV. Thing is, there's nothing particularly awful about this mission. It's just, a bit hard. But it can be a lot harder if you don't do one simple thing that turns out is quite obvious. See, following the truck is fine. It does some funny moves, but collecting the rubbish is easy enough. Once you're in the middle of the town though, and you have lots of random items around the place to collect, it can be a bit daunting knowing where to start and knowing where the next ones are. And as a kid, I barely even got half before running out of time. Turns out if you look at the little mini-map, you will see all of the targets there. Oh, you knew that, did you? Yeah, well, it also points to the next one to collect, because it turns out there's a really well streamlined order to get them in, and if you do it, you have plenty of time. I mean, without a good knowledge of the area, you would probably still struggle with some parts because the map isn't 3D, so you might not know when you have to climb a building or whatever. But generally, this just makes the whole thing piss easy in comparison to eyeballing it. I know this mission is sort of iconic for being hard, so maybe it's just that I've done it so many times, but personally now I find it quite easy. But that doesn't mean it's not at home in the number 2 spot. However, next up we have number 1. As I'm sure you've guessed by now if you are a fan of this game, Set to Kill. Easily the hardest mission in the game. You have to use the Globex super villain car, and while you can technically cheese it and use another one, I still think it's best to use this. You have to go and hit a bunch of laser stands across the whole map, starting at Krusty Lou Studios, and then you're going to make it back again. Now the stands aren't in horrendous places that are too hard to collect along the way, and the time limit for that is okay, but then only having 50 seconds to get back to Krusty Lou is where the issue is. See, the car is fast, but it's also weak, so if you crash, not only do you lose seconds, but you probably break the car enough that then one small tiny collision will end you. On top of that, you are once again zooming through Squidport, so will almost definitely be getting the coppers on your case, crashing some more and then losing the mission half a second before making it back to the checkpoint. That one last climb on the hill on the way to Krusty Lou, it's so easy to lose control of the car and accidentally slam into a wall. And, you know, if you lose then, seconds before the end, it's just infuriating. There's not a lot more to this mission, it's just a tough one for very simple reasons. The time constraint is hard as nails, but you already know that. So yeah, those are my picks for the 10 hardest missions in the Simpsons Hit and Run. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comments and tell me your top 10 hardest levels, or easiest levels, or whatever. And don't forget to subscribe for some more Simpson-y goodness. Or not. I don't know. Bye.